This Land Rover door is set up perfectly by the height here. You see, this is how you set it up. And we know that we haven't moved the bulkhead, we haven't moved the bulkhead here, so we know that that's our datum to work off. The gap here, well, it's not too bad, it's a bit wide at the bottom, but you can see what happens here, it disappears. Oh, 1 minute, you can't see, can you? When you get to the top, it disappears. Now, look at the front. We've got a bit of a gap. The gap's not even here as compared to the top of the bulkhead down here. So, what could have moved? What could have moved on this door? Well, all I can think of is that I think if we push this a little bit, I don't know which way, I think we push the roof back over. No, wait a minute. The roof needs to go forward and then we need to adjust the hinges, because you can see here this piece of folded metal here, which is where the door seal goes on, it actually overlaps at the top. You can, let's see if we can zoom in a bit more. There. You can see this bit overlaps here. There, you see? Right at the very top. If you can't, yeah, there you can see it now, look, you see it overlaps. Now let's go and have a look at the other side. When we come to look at the driver's side, you can see that gap is perfect. There's nothing, we don't touch this whatsoever. But I want you to have a look at this little gap right at the very top and compare. You see here? See there's a gap? Now these in the factory would have all been set exactly the same. So we know there's a little bit of we've got to move things. So what we're going to do is use our porta power and just ever so lightly tweak that. Now I'm not going to use it on the pneumatic Air Over Oil, I'm just going to use it on the hand pump for the simple reason I don't want to go too far. So, but it looks like that window needs to go that way, which then will adjust the door around a bit. Hey, we don't know, let's try, because we can always push it backwards again. We've got the porta power in place and it's just the same nipped up, but what I wanted to show you was the gap at the top here. When I put a little bit of weight on it, apart from lifting it up, that is, we're now moving that gap forward, but, and this is where we have to be careful, our gap has disappeared here, but the gap at the front, well, you could drive a bus through it. So what that means is we've got to adjust the door a little bit. Whoop, there we go. I always get that wrong, don't I? We've got to adjust the door, and by looking at the bottom door hinge we can see that that gap is quite tight. So what we've got to do is twist the door sort of like that. Let me get on with that and see what happens with that. By putting the porta power in the diagonally opposite corner, now we've adjusted the door. The gap is down here is perfect, down the front is perfect, the roof is perfect. This isn't too bad, it could be better, the one up the door, but this one is still out, it's too tight. So that could probably mean that now we've got to push this top back a little bit. What I'm going to do, I don't know what I'm going to do actually. I've never sort of had this problem before. They usually go all right. So I'm going to sort of tighten up the bolts, some of them, and let them go and then see what they're like. But one of the most important things is, you know, like when we're doing the door, I noticed the catch was still on and that hinders us a little bit. So take the striker off and just be careful of your paintwork at the top. We don't want that to rub and touch. With the porta power weight off and these brackets bolted back up here, you can see we're getting better all the time here. It's turning out to be a lovely gap now. Just needs that little tiny bit more, you know, to match up the other side. but I can't swing the hinges across anymore. I'm on my maximum thing for my hinge. The bottom door looks good, but I can't lift it any higher because otherwise we're going to be off this line here. So now I'm going to switch the porta power and push it back, see if I can push this panel back here a little bit. Let's see what happens. Because you see, I haven't got the bolts bolted up here yet, they're all still loose. So we might just be able to tweak it just a little bit. And this is why it's important to put 5mm bolts in the roof and not 8, because you can get that little bit of shift, makes all the difference. So with the roof nipped up here and porta powered across here, you can see what's happened to our gap now. It's nice and even. This is good, this is good, this is good, this is good. I think we're done. So it only takes a little bit of tweaking, but be patient. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is go around all the bolts and tighten them up evenly. Alright, so that's that done. We've got a nice fitting door now, so now we can fit the seal. Now I've already done a video on this, and I'm going to put it here. I always have to think about it. Yeah, so that's that thing. I think now it's time for tea break, but like I said, don't be afraid to push and twist. And another thing, if you do a little bit of porta power inside, spread the weight with wooden blocks. Don't push your porta power straight onto the footwell or anything like that, and make sure what you're pushing off is kind of sound as well. When I push the top corner, I use the rubber ball, you know, so it would go and not damage any metal. All comes in the kit, but it just shows you that I haven't actually cut, welded or moved anything at all to get really nice door gaps, but they were quite bad. And you can see now, well, you maybe can see now, up at the top here, we've got a little bit of a gap now, so that's acceptable. You know, we're right against the edge of the bolts, in other words. You know, like the two bolt holes, we can't move that back any further, so we're kind of stuck. I mean, if you want to be really anal, you could file them out, but it's only Land Rover, for crying out loud. Anyway, hope you like that. We'll talk to you later.